Well, what a crazy start to the year, eh? It's been like 11 days and it's like this. What else is there in store? Unfortunately, I think it's actually going to get pretty bad for America. In the UK, it's getting bad as well, certain things. Nowhere near as bad as America, but it's still bad in terms of the police state. We're now living in a police state here in the UK. And America, oh, I genuinely feel sorry for you guys. I really do mean that. But this is a video for any Trump supporters or anyone who's curious, even if you're not. And this is really talking about what is happening.
Yeah, well, really quick, I want to point out that even though the boogeyman being set up for this war on domestic terror is QAnon and white supremacists and whatever, this apparatus is going to be used to go after everyone. If you look at the agencies running this, like DHS or U.S. intelligence in general, who are their targets traditionally? If you look over, the course of their decades-long history, it tends to be left-leaning groups. It tends to be environmental activists. Just remember what happened with the pipeline, just a couple years ago, the private security and all the involvement there and how they were harassing. I mean, those are the type of groups that the U.S. government traditionally goes after. So really what has been set up too, especially now that we have Antifa and all these laws Trump passed last year, supposedly targeting BLM protests and Antifa, whatever, being used against the people, his supporters on Capitol Hill recently. Now they're going to face way larger sentences than they would have if Trump had not issued that executive order last September. I mean, this clearly shows you both parties have been setting up this foundation and that they are going to use this domestic terror framework to go after people on the left and the right. And so any progressive supporting this stuff and being like willingly labeling these people terrorists and not even thinking about what that means and where we're going when we start pointing the finger and saying you're either with us or the terrorists. I mean, if you're a progressive saying that, look in the fucking mirror. You're George W. Bush right now.
Exactly.
That's who you've become.
And you know what? I'm so glad you made that point, because from the inception of this, one of my biggest issues with anybody who wanted to say that they were, alt-right or a conservative was calling these guys Antifa terrorists or saying,
Wrong.
You know what? We need a law if somebody's going to take down a statue that they're a domestic terrorist.
Yeah,
or
you reap what you sow. The people on the right that were willing to be like terrorists, everyone I don't like on the left is a Marxist terrorist. Well, look what you've just done. And it's the same point for people on the left right now that are pointing at these people at the Capitol, most of whom who stayed in the velvet ropes and acted like they were on like a civic tour of the freaking Capitol.
Listen, I was there, Whitney. And again, I never felt threatened at all. I don't know if you've seen any of my footage yet, but I get right into, first of all, I wasn't there for the initial quote unquote siege. I came up.
Well, they let people in through the security fence and also a door in the Capitol. So you want to call that shit a siege?
Well, that's my point.
So out of control.
All right,
the War of 1812, Pearl Harbor. Senators have compared what happened on Wednesday to Pearl Harbor and the War on 1812. I mean, these people are high.
They're more than high.
There's been a slow agenda towards labeling people as domestic, I'm going to use the word agitators, right? And it's a T word, as you know what I mean. Just like they do with Islamic extremism. That's going to be the narrative now. White people, white Trump supporters specifically are the targets. And you can see the video on the screen. It's called An Urgent Message to All Conservatives, Right-Wingers and Patriots. And you can find it. I'll post a link in the description. Dollar Vigilante, and it's a really, really good video. I strongly advise anybody who is right-wing to really watch it. I watched some of the footage of the protest. I even watched some of it live and on Periscope and things like this and DLive and stuff like that. But I did see police officers just kind of letting crowds walk to the Capitol, and there was not enough police on that day, which is shocking. I think they let that happen, personally. And I think the reason is because they wanted to demonize Trump supporters with some nice photo opportunities, some nice smashing and grabbing.
And, as we look back at events on the 6th, it may become more clear that what happened on the 6th was a setup, it was a trap that those people walked into. We've seen Milo Yiannopoulos, who is a self-admitted federal informant, said that he was warned not to go to the protest on the 6th because the government had something set up that was intended to harm the people involved in the protests.
Police are squabbling with protesters. Oh, there we go. And they just breached the Capitol again.
We also have footage that seems to suggest that police allowed protesters to enter Capitol Hill. And we also had this coordinated effort that followed to push for what seems like it will be a Patriot Act 2.0, a domestic terrorism bill that will basically focus on wiping out the forces that Trump gave rise to. We have Lindsey Graham and multiple other senators talking about the tragedy that this happened on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. It seems like they have their narrative ready, that this was a huge failing, that this shows how vulnerable the US is to domestic terrorism, and that this necessitates sweeping reforms and a sweeping crackdown on dissident right-wingers. So it's going to get much, much worse.
If you look at the crowd of people there, because Jason Burma spoke about this, if you look at the crowd, there were so many people. I didn't even realize there's so many people there.
Right? First of all, with the amount of people that were there, had they wanted to get violent, actually violent, and enter the Capitol, there would have been no way to stop them. At least not with the tools they were using, unless they literally wanted to use automatic weapons inside and use every police force. Now,
if you look at the amount of people who stormed into the Capitol, it was a very small group of people. If all those Trump supporters swarmed the Capitol, that would have been just taken over very easily. It was a small, very small group of people. But the whole point of this video is to say, guys, the political process, I don't believe is going to save us. And I don't believe that any political leader will save us. I'm not saying there aren't good people in government and there aren't people who can do good, but I think that relying on the political process, I think you've probably seen now the limitations of it. Big tech and the deep state are in bed with one another. Edward Snowden has warned us of this. Like, if you read the documents of Edward Snowden, who deserves a medal for trying to help humanity, I believe, or just deserves our eternal thanks. If you look into it, he laid out with documents, unclassified, declassified documents, that the deep state and big tech are in bed with one another. And then Kim Iverson, I'll post a link to her video in the description box as well. She is actually, she calls herself a progressive populist. She says she's not a progressive Democrat, but she's a progressive populist. And she has uncovered that a lot of the Democrat politicians have been getting Pentagon contracts for big tech companies. And that's one of the reasons why these companies seem to favor Democrats so much.
Well, it turns out the real reason that big tech has been censoring dissenting opinions, any dissenting opinion that has been against the Democratic establishment, be it conservative voices, pro-Trump voices, or even progressive voices. The real reason they have been censoring all of these dissenting opinions is because top-level Democrats have been helping big tech gain Pentagon contracts worth billions of dollars. Top-level Democrats who have now been named to Biden's cabinet. It is all now making sense. It always comes down to follow the money. We're going to break this down. That is coming up. This pressure that has been coming from Democrats in Congress, from those who are the least progressive, like Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, to those who are the most progressive, like AOC and Rashida Tlaib, who've been calling for increasing censorship by big tech. They want the censorship. This has been something that's been very alarming to many of us, and something that many people have been bringing attention to. It is a scary trend. We have to have information. That is our number one weapon against tyranny. It is information. We cannot allow for the censorship of information to continue. But unfortunately, I think the writing is on the wall that it's going to get way worse. It's going to get way worse. And I don't know exactly what we're going to be able to do about it.
So you see this big state collusion between everyone. The Democrats are really in favor, are in bed with the deep state, and the deep state are in bed with the big tech, and big tech in bed with the Democrats. You see this triangle, right? It doesn't mean that there aren't conservatives who are like this, because we all know if you're my age or you grew up in around George Bush's era, because a lot of younger people don't realize this, there was something called neoconservatives, and they're still around. And these were conservatives who were warmongers. They loved war. They wanted to go and just blow up everywhere that wasn't outside of America. They were horrible, horrible human beings. Regime change. This all happened early on. I mean, in the late 20th century, it was around Latin America and the Middle East. They were horrible people, and they're still around as well. So you're getting this collusion between neoconservatives, Democrats, deep state, and big tech, and that's where we're at now. So you can see that on the screen, Jeff Berwick has a book. I haven't read it, called The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire, but I have been following him on and off for a while, and he has been warning about this. He said, listen, that on various ways they're trying to bring down America and change it to bring in this new regime. And seems like he was 100% right. Seems so. What he's saying came true. This is an independent journalist who I follow, and I really like him. And he's got some harsh things to say about Trump movement, as well as the Bernie Sanders movement. He's neither right nor left. He's actually an agorist. So I'll just read it, okay? Friends, I believe the Trump and Sanders movement have been the most damaging for the cause of liberation for both left and right. Why? These two men and their campaigns portrayed themselves as outsiders, and to some degree they were. They were outside the mainstream corporate left and corporate right paradigm. However, in the end, Bernie endorsed Hillary and Biden, and in the end, Trump continued and expanded many of the same programs as his predecessors. Still, there are people who believe they were fighting the system by voting and or campaigning for these people. There were lots of talk of a political revolution that has gone nowhere. Sure, we could say the corruption and the failings of these two movements helped wake up a lot of people, true. But how many people are now playing the political game, believing that they are anti-establishment? We have left-wingers who think that the DHS, FBI, and CIA are good guys, and we have right-wingers who have been duped into thinking martial law, the Insurrection Act, and Big Pharma are good guys. This propaganda runs deep, and is sometimes difficult to stay afloat. This is why it's more important than ever to know what your principles are, take steps to live in line with them, and do not allow theatrics or politics to push you from your roots. And I think that's a really, really good message, and that's one of my core messages to anybody who is right-wing, a Trump supporter, to really listen to that. This is a diagram. I've said it in other videos, but I want to say it again. Different types of social structures. One is decentralized, one is centralized. If you look at the Trump movement, and the Obama movement's the same, and the Bernie Sanders movement, none of those movements talk about decentralization. Fundamentally talk about giving power back to localities and municipalities. None of them talk about this. If you look on this, like centralization versus decentralized and distributed networks, this works for computer programs. This also works for social organization. And if you look at what Trump represents that triangle there. Trump is the top of the triangle, and all the people, the Trump supporters, those lines, those little dots coming away from those lines. It's still centralization. Trump didn't come out, and neither did Bernie Sanders, and neither did Obama. I'm not a supporter of any of them. None of them come out and said, hey guys, the biggest problem we face is people in power in the military industrial complex intelligence services, and the warmongers and big tech. What we can do to take away their power, guys, is decentralization. What if they came out and said, the first year, guys, I want you to get involved in permaculture. Learn to grow your own fruits and vegetables around your garden, take up the space that you can, live in more harmony with nature, farmers markets, grass-fed beef, these kind of things. Second year, they come out, okay, guys, why don't we start raising chickens in our gardens and start getting fresh eggs and giving eggs to our neighbors? This will be really good. We can have a good organic source of food. Why don't we do that? Third thing they could have said was, okay, guys, we can't be so reliant on the power grids and the utility companies. Let's start getting these portable solar panels that you can use to power your computers and your smart technology, and even your TVs and other things, and also getting getting solar powers put onto your roof, so you don't have to be so completely reliant on the energy companies, generators, backup generators, oil lamps, these kind of things. And then the fourth year, they could have said, guys, we need to start using precious metals and cryptocurrencies for trade, because this will take power away from the deep state. So if any of these people, including Trump, were really against the deep state and were really trying to bring revolution, they would try to empower communities and individuals. And you don't get that by telling people to just keep relying on them, keep following them, follow the plan, and follow the almost savior-like figure of Trump, savior-like figure of Obama, savior-like figure of Bernie. A politician is not going to save you. The centralized system is not necessarily going to save you, because people in power tend to want to keep power. So they're not going to promote decentralization. And ask yourself, why didn't they promote decentralization? Knowing that could take away power. So one of the things I just want to say to Trump supporters is, look, I know your intention was good. You wanted change for the better of the country. I'm just going to say maybe it was the wrong route, because you're now seeing that the people in charge, they played chess. They were very smart people. And what they did was I believe, and Derek Brose believed this, and he wrote an article back in 2016 talking about this, that Donald Trump's movement, whether Donald Trump was a naive idealist or a useful idiot, sorry to use the term, but a useful idiot or controlled opposition, what the movement did was it was kind of a honeypot. It gathered together all the people who were against the deep state. And QAnon fueled all this. And so it gathered them all up, whipped them up into a frenzy, got them to publicly talk out against this. And then now they got Trump out the way. Now you've all been exposed. Bam. Now they can grab you all up. And also, here's the thing. None of those movements set up any form of decentralization. So when they take away when they close your bank account, when they take away when you get fired from your job, when they take away your ability to have a payment processor and like take money online through like PayPal, Visa, Stripe, when they deplatform you, if maybe it's your way of making money, because there are a lot of people who do podcasts and content creation and they get demonetized. When they take away your money, what are you going to do? But they failed to make these contingency plans because they trusted in the plan. They trusted in Trump rather than trying to build community and grassroots things and decentralized solutions like using cryptocurrency. And I want to talk about Gab, because Gab is a really interesting case story. And the Gab founder tried to create a free speech platform. He's a very staunch Christian, a very staunch defender of the Constitution, and believes in free speech in America.
Gab was the first, social media platform to be totally no platformed. We were the test case for what is happening right now to Parler, to the President of the United States, and to other people. So we were banned from both app stores, I think 3 years ago. We're banned from Visa. We cannot accept credit or debit cards over the internet. And we see the president was just banned from Stripe. We were also banned from Stripe, which is a payment processing company. We're banned from PayPal. We're banned from email services. We had to build our own email services just to send emails to our users. The list goes on. All in all, we've been banned from probably 25, 30 different service providers that you need to just exist on the internet and run a website. And we have, over the course of 2 or 3 years now, built our own everything. We were banned from Amazon just like Parler just was. We were banned from other hosting providers, cloud hosting providers. So we've been out and we bought our own servers. We own them. We cannot be banned from them. And, that's how you're going to take back control of the internet. We will build the free speech internet that is grounded in American law and First Amendment free speech protections for everyone around the world. If we have to do it from the ground up, if we have to, launch our own internet service provider, whatever it takes, we will do it. And this is the team to get it done.
When you just said, I just want to make sure that I'm still recording. When you just said that you built your own servers,
right?
Do you think that you can still be censored with the amount of quote unquote of what's happening in America right now? Do you still, even having your own servers, do you think that you could still be banned in the future?
Well, the FBI could seize our website. If the communists get a hold of the FBI, get control of the FBI, they can seize our website. So that is a real possibility. Outside of that, we control our own destiny. We have our own servers. We built our own email system. We built our own social network. We built our own YouTube. We just launched our own YouTube. We built our own web browser. And that's the next level. This is going to be terrifying. What they're doing now is they're going to be doing this at the web browser level. So, most of the internet uses Google Chrome or Firefox. So what those browsers are going to do in an update is they're going to say, you go to gab.com, you're no longer allowed to go to gab.com. That is the next step, right? That is where we're going next. We've already seen financial services. I mean, this is basically mark of the beast stuff. I'm a devout Christian. And this is stuff that we read in our Bible. I'm not allowed to do any transactions on the internet right now. I can't process credit card payments. Okay, I can't use PayPal. These companies have really a duopoly, a monopoly on payment processing on the internet. Thankfully, there's Bitcoin, which is free speech money. And I encourage everybody to really look into that, to learn about that, because that's one of the ways that we've survived over these past couple of years is Bitcoin. Because we don't have to ask permission to process payments from a bank or from a government or from another company. Our users can just, give us Bitcoin to purchase things. So that's one of the more powerful ways that this stuff is being stopped and will stop. It's inevitable.
I was making more money than I had ever made selling digital products. I was doing about $10,000 to $15,000 a month, which was so much more money than I've ever made in my life. Back at my regular job, I was making like $600 a week. And so I go from that to making $10,000, $15,000 a month. There was one month I made $19,000 freaking dollars, right? So I'm high. I'm on top of the world. And like all of a sudden I woke up and I got PayPal has limited your account. And I was like, what? And all my business was going through PayPal because that's all I knew. And I called them and there was basically no appeal. I could barely talk to anybody. And I had like hundreds of people on a reoccurring subscription. Everything went to zero. Basically, all my money was seized for 6 months and my entire business was essentially shut down. And I went from making $15,000 a month to nothing. And obviously you can imagine that being really traumatic and traumatizing. When I got banned from PayPal, my friend said, well, why don't you just get Stripe? I go, dude, I'm going to get banned from Stripe too. If you're curious why I got banned, basically I had a big wave of chargebacks. And on top of it, PayPal investigated what I was selling and they were like, this isn't very good. You violate the terms of service. You're a naughty boy. Basically the political correctness stuff started creeping into our culture. And this all happened around 2017 or 2018. Late 2018, I think.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I need to think about this. I was making a lot of money. I'm going to get on Stripe, but I'm also going to sign up for like a payment processor, like a real one. Like the ones that like porn sites use. Because I figured that if they would let porn sites do it, they'd probably let me. Dude, it was so unbelievably invasive. They wanted social security card numbers. They wanted my address. They wanted to see every single transaction I had ever made on PayPal. They wanted to log into all my websites. And on top of it, they wanted to go to my fucking house. They wanted to verify an office. And I said, I don't have an office. I don't live anywhere. I travel the world. The office I gave you is my mom's house. And they're like, it's okay. We can visit her. I'm like,
not as a courtesy.
He goes, it's okay. We can visit. I'm like, dude, is this real? And so I remember telling the story. And then I had a good friend of mine say, well, you should start accepting Bitcoin. And I said, dude, I'm just going to get banned from Bitcoin. He goes, you can't get banned from Bitcoin. And that's when I was like, what do you mean? And at this time, I was really into like anti-censorship stuff because obviously this really like
censored.
Yeah, I got super censored. And again, this was all happening right when the political correctness stuff started floating in. And so my Facebook posts started to get suspended for hate speech. And so I signed up for this platform called Gab, which is like a free speech Twitter. It's kind of ghetto, but
they usually are.
They had the same problem I did. They got deplatformed, and so then they started accepting Bitcoin. I was like, whoa, they're accepting that thing that my friend talked about. So I was like, how do I get Bitcoin? What is that? And so I bought some on Coinbase, and then I bought Gab Pro, which was there because I was like, what does it feel like to do? Like it was so weird to me. So I did it and it worked, and I was like, all right, that was kind of cool. So as an experiment, I threw a little QR code on one of my websites. And I was like, yo, if anyone wants to buy my course in Bitcoin, I'll give you half off. Like I was just wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I got like 3 people bought it like instantly. And they scanned the freaking code. And then I got my phone's buzzed. And then they emailed me and I was like, whoa, that was interesting. I didn't have to sign up for anything.
They just Senate
I was like, I didn't have to let some creep go to my mom's house. You know what I mean? I put a JPEG on the website, and now I have this thing in my phone.
If you were warned, you would have created decentralized solutions. You would have looked into buying and selling things with cryptocurrency and precious metals. You would have looked into things like permaculture and solar power and trying to find ways of through barter economies and community organization, local organization. You wouldn't be so reliant on the power grids and these kind of things, because unfortunately now they are coming after you. They're not just coming after Trump and Trump supporters. After Trump got banned from across a bunch of social media, it was a coordinated banning, right? They started going after Trump supporters. But here's the thing: they didn't just go after Trump supporters. Left wingers also got banned, because here's the thing: they were against the establishment. They were not. They didn't toe the party line. They were left wing, but they weren't. That doesn't necessarily mean you're support of the Democratic Party. So, like Red Scare podcasts, which is a female podcast, got banned. There was a person who was a supporter of Free and Julian Assange got banned. They got banned. So it's not just them they're coming after. Now, you guys, Trump supporters and right wingers, you guys are going to be, and the Patriots, you guys are going to be the main targets. But they're going after everyone now. Anybody who opposes the mainstream message. And further proof to this, you guys may not realize this. Back in 2020, anybody who spoke out against the beer disease, you know what I'm talking about, the disease in the 2020, they start getting banned left and right.
Anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations would be a violation of our policy. And so remove is another really important part of our policy.
So you're not just putting the truth next to the lie. You're taking the lie down. That's a pretty aggressive approach.
Like I'm on BitChute right now, and I can tell there's people on BitChute who are only on platforms outside of YouTube because they got banned, or Twitter or Facebook. Like the Dollar Vigilante, Jeff Berwick, banned off YouTube. Derek Bro is banned off YouTube. Max Egan, the Last American Vagabond, banned off YouTube. You can get banned off YouTube if you start criticizing the MSM's narrative. Some of them are still on the other platforms, but they're kind of iffy. They don't know when. It's only a matter of time until they get banned. So what I'm saying is that we are all in this together. And I know the mainstream media wants this to divide us up into us versus them, and you want to hate that other side. But really, there are people who really just want to live a good life, and there are people who are against the deep state on both sides. Just because someone's left just because someone's right doesn't mean that you're your enemy. You may disagree on on certain topics or how to organize, but you can have the same desire for the well-being of your country, the well-being of other people. You can both be anti-war, you can both be against the deep state. You just disagree the best way of going there. But anyway, the whole point of this video is just to say what they want is division. What they want is for you to be in despair. What they want is for you to rise up violently. And I also believe primarily this is a spiritual struggle. And this is not the easiest thing to do, and I can tell you personally, because I've got my own things that I'm trying to work out. But I believe ultimately the most important thing we can do truly is try to reform our character, try to be a better person, try to heal those emotional wounds that we have, so that we shine really. Our energy is bright, so that our energy is more in accordance with the divine, with God, with the universe, whatever you want to call it, so that we bring in good energy, because I believe there's an underlying spiritual reality to the world, and everything is really a manifestation of spiritual reality. And I believe that goodness attracts good spiritual forces, and evil attracts good, evil forces. And the more we can reform our characters and be more loving people, the more we attract that divine loving energy into our lives, which isn't easy. Especially we've got demons, we've got mental health issues, we've got emotional issues, we've got character problems. Because I don't believe our culture supports positive communication and positive mental health. I don't. But anyway, that's the most important thing I want to say, guys. So take care. God bless. Everything's going to be okay. Oh, and stock up on food. If you're in America, just stock up on food. Just I think you're in for a rocky time in the next few weeks. I hope I'm wrong, but okay. Take care.